We'll start a new topic, that is Jenkins. The link is same. So I'll give a brief introduction to CI/CD. Okay. So generally, what we want to achieve in this Jenkins topic is, so we want to achieve CI and CD. Okay. So let's understand the terms CI and CD. So first I'll explain what happens generally in a development environment and a production environment. Okay. So developer will be writing a code. Okay. He'll push the code to any Git repository. In this case, suppose it is a GitHub repository. Okay. Developer pushes the code. Okay. The code, okay, uh, stored in the GitHub repository. Okay. Now that code needs to be converted into a Docker image. Okay, so generally the code is converted into a Docker image using Docker file. So the GitHub repository along with the code will also have a Docker file. Okay, so that code is converted into an image, and that image is pushed into a container registry. In this case, suppose it is a Docker container registry. It can be also ECR. Okay, it can be JFrog. There are various types of container registry. So the code is pushed. Okay, an image is created using the Docker file, which is also in the Docker hub, GitHub. Okay, and an image is built and it is pushed to the container registry, and this is called as CI. Okay, so in this process there will be some unit test. Okay, some test will be carried out by the developers. Okay, for on their own code. So CI refers to, in general, what does that CI refers to? Developers manage code within a shared repository. After compilation, automated unit tests and UI testings are conducted. Okay, so this part is called as continuous integration. Okay, it involves integrating a code into a shared repository multiple times. Okay, and that is done automatically. That's why it's called as integration, integrating the code into a shared repository. So this part, managing the code in the shared repository along with some test, this is the CI part. Okay, this is the continuous integration. The developers will be doing it continuously the whole day. The next is continuous deployment. So the image is created using CI pipeline. The image is created. That image needs to be deployed. The image contains our source code along with dependencies, okay, application and all, and that needs to be deployed on a Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so this Kubernetes cluster can be on-prem, it can be EKS, it can be in Google term GKE, whatever it may be, that is deployed. So what happens in this stage is the image will be pulled from a Docker container registry and it will be deployed on a Kubernetes cluster. Okay. Now, where does this Jenkins come in all these steps? Okay, so in the GitHub repository, along with the code, Docker file, and all, we'll also have a Jenkins file. Okay, so Jenkins will be installed. Okay, so Jenkins will be installed on some VM. Okay, or it can be a container, it can be a pod as well. Okay, or a deployment of Kubernetes. So Jenkins is already installed, and there will be a Jenkins file in this GitHub repository as well. In that particular Jenkins file, various stages, whatever we did is the automation steps are defined. Okay, what is the step for CI, what is the step for CD, what is the step for integration, all those things will be defined in the Jenkins. Okay, and Jenkins will be called, and Jenkins will manage the CI and CD. Okay, so when we do the practice or when we do the labs, it will be more clear. We'll be creating a Jenkins file, that so everything will be stored in the GitHub repository, application code. Okay, whatever manifest we need required to deploy on the Kubernetes, the Docker file, the Jenkins file. Okay, all these things will be stored in a Jenkins file. Uh, and as one by one a stage will be created, CI, CD, testing and all, and the whole process is carried out. The CI is pushing the image till container registry, you can say, and deployment is deploying that image on the Kubernetes cluster. So this I have explained with respect to microservices, or you can say containerization and all. Okay, so this step can be also done on a VM as well, that is EC2 instance as well. So instead of image, it will be some executable. Okay, the CI will consist of every day pushing our code and integrating it, okay, and testing it, that is the CI part. And the deployment will be deploying the artifacts. Artifacts means whatever the outcome or the executable which is created by the source code, that will be deployed on the EC2 instance as well. So the CI/CD is not only restricted to containerization, it can be done on the EC2 as well. Okay. So this was all about CI/CD. So what happens in a traditional development? Okay. So a planning is done, some analysis is done, the software design is made, then the implementation is done. So in this implementation phase, we'll be using CI. So testing is also done. This testing can be also integrated in the CI. Okay. Then the deployment and the maintenance. So deployment will be part of the CD. So this is the traditional software development process. Okay, and we need to take care of this. The software architect will take care of all these things. Okay, so what happens in a traditional SDLC? Okay, so in a waterfall model and all, everything is done at the one go. Okay, so there is no, the development is done and directly the operations teams are involved. Okay, but in a our CI/CD, continuous integration, okay, continuous delivery, okay, continuous feedback, all these things are done. So what does that integrate means? Putting our code, everything into source code, test it, okay, and then release it, and that release is then deployed in the production. The CI part will be the integration and the testing, and the deployment will be the deploying that particular code in the production. So this was the traditional CI/CD where everything happens in a one by one, okay, in a sequence. Here the CI, the continuous integration, means if there is a bug, they will come to know very easily. The package is created, okay, that package is then deployed on the servers. So this was all about CI/CD. So for the first time, it may be hard to understand, but in short, remember the image creation, okay, that is of a software, is a CI part, and that image deployment is a part of CD.